The Jothric Empire stretched across thousands of star systems. Their ships flew through space like metal giants. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. For 12,000 years they ruled over 40% of the galaxy. No one dared to challenge them. No one could match their power. Emperor Vorash sat on his throne made of crystal. The throne room was bigger than a city. Thousands of servants bowed before him. His golden robes touched the floor. His crown held gems from 100 conquered worlds. He ruled with absolute power. One morning, a scout ship returned from the outer regions. The captain walked into the throne room. His boots clicked on the marble floor. He carried a datapad in his shaking hands. "Your Majesty," the captain said. He bowed low. "We found something interesting. A primitive world. They call it Earth." Emperor Vorash leaned forward. "Tell me about this Earth." The captain showed holographic images. A blue and green planet appeared in the air. The humans live there. They just learned how to travel faster than light. Their technology is very basic. Their ships use simple fusion reactors. Their weapons are just kinetic projectiles. They are like children playing with toys. The War Council gathered around the hologram. Generals and admirals studied the images. They looked at human cities. They saw human ships. They counted human weapons. Then they started to laugh. "These humans are so weak," one general said. "Our smallest fighter could destroy their biggest warship." "Their planet is rich," another admiral added. "Metals, rare elements, water, everything we need." Emperor Vorash smiled. "And the humans themselves?" "What about them?" "Perfect slaves, Your Majesty," the captain replied. "They are young, easy to control. They will serve the Empire well." The Emperor stood up. His voice filled the massive room. "Then we shall take this Earth. We shall add it to our Empire. These humans will bow before us like all others." The War Council cheered. They had conquered thousands of worlds. Earth would be easy. It would be quick. It would be glorious. Fleet Admiral Kethron stepped forward. He was the Empire's greatest military commander. He had never lost a battle. "Your Majesty, I volunteer to lead this invasion. Give me 100 ships. That is more than enough." Emperor Vorash shook his head. "No, this is a special occasion. Take 500 ships. I want the humans to see our power. I want them to understand they cannot resist. Show them the might of the Jothric Empire." Kethron bowed. 500 ships. It was massive overkill. He could conquer Earth with 50 ships, maybe with 20, but he would follow his emperor's orders. He would bring 500 ships. He would make this invasion memorable. Preparations began immediately. The Empire's greatest warships gathered at the staging area. Battle cruisers longer than mountains. Destroyers bristling with plasma cannons. Fighter craft that moved faster than light. Every ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. Soldiers boarded the ships. Millions of them. Warriors from 100 conquered species. All serving the Empire. All ready to fight. All expecting an easy victory. In the capital city, citizens celebrated. Holographic displays showed images of Earth. Announcers talked about the coming victory. Merchants prepared to sell goods from the new conquest. Everyone was excited. "The humans don't stand a chance," people said to each other. "The fleet will return in a few weeks. The war will be over before it starts." Fleet Admiral Kethron stood on the bridge of his flagship. The ship was called Eternal Dominance, or it was the biggest warship in the fleet. Its weapons could destroy a moon. Its shields could withstand a star going supernova. He looked at the star map. Earth was far away, in an isolated arm of the galaxy. The humans had been lucky. They had developed alone. No one had bothered them. No one had conquered them. Until now. "Set course for Earth," Kethron commanded. "Maximum speed. I want to arrive with overwhelming force." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, 500 ships moving as one. They left a trail of energy that lit up the space around them. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was the power of the Empire on full display. On the bridge, officers made predictions. How long would the humans resist? 1 day, 1 hour? Some thought the humans would surrender immediately. Why fight when defeat was certain? Kethron smiled to himself. He had fought in 100 wars. He had seen 1,000 battles. This would be the easiest campaign of his career. The humans were primitive. Their technology was outdated. Their military was weak. What the Admiral did not know was that everything they believed about Earth was wrong. The primitive ships were fake. The weak weapons were a disguise. The young civilization was a lie. Earth was not what it seemed. And the Jothric Empire was about to learn a terrible lesson. The fleet traveled through hyperspace. Days passed. The journey continued. Every hour brought them closer to Earth. Every moment brought them closer to their doom. But they did not know. They could not know. They believed they were invincible. They believed they were the strongest force in the galaxy. They were about to discover how wrong they were. 150 years before the Jothric fleet departed, something amazing happened on Mars. A team of human explorers found something buried deep under the red sand. At first, they thought it was just an unusual rock formation, but then their sensors went crazy. Dr. Sarah Chen was the lead archaeologist. She brushed away the dust with her gloved hands. Beneath the sand was metal, but it was not like any metal humans had ever seen. It was smooth. It was perfect. It did not rust or corrode. "This is artificial," she whispered into her radio. This was made by someone. Something intelligent. They dug for weeks. What they found changed everything. It was a facility. An enormous underground complex. The structure went down for miles. The technology inside was beyond anything humans could imagine. The discovery was kept secret. Governments worked together quietly. Scientists from every nation studied the facility. They found computers that still worked after millions of years. They found weapons that could tear through reality itself. They found star maps showing thousands of worlds. And they found records. Ancient records. The truth about humanity. The records told an incredible story. Long ago, an ancient race existed. They called themselves the Architects. They were the first intelligent species in the galaxy. They were the ones who created faster-than-light travel. They were the ones who mapped the stars. The Architects had a mission. They wanted to seed life across the galaxy. They visited thousands of planets. They left their genetic code behind. They created new species that would grow and evolve. Humanity was one of those species, but Earth was special. Earth was not just another colony world. Earth was a reset point. The Architects had deliberately kept Earth isolated. They wanted one world where their descendants could develop naturally, without interference, without technology, starting fresh. The facility on Mars was a vault, a storage place. Inside were all the secrets of the Architects, their technology, their knowledge, their power. Everything was preserved. Everything was waiting. The records explained that when humanity reached a certain level of development, the vault would activate. When humans could reach Mars on their own, they were ready to learn the truth, ready to inherit their legacy. Dr. Chen read the final message from the Architects. It was written in a language that somehow every human could understand. The words appeared directly in her mind. "To our children," the message said, "you are not alone in the galaxy. You never were. You carry within you the legacy of the first. The galaxy is full of younger species. They will grow. They will evolve. Some will be peaceful. Some will be aggressive. Watch them. Learn from them. But remember who you are. Remember what you carry inside you. You are the heirs of the Architects. You are the guardians of the galaxy." World leaders gathered in secret meetings. They debated what to do. Some wanted to announce the discovery to everyone. Others wanted to keep it hidden. In the end, they chose secrecy. The decision was made. Humanity would reverse engineer the Architect technology, but they would do it slowly, carefully, and most importantly, secretly. On the surface, humanity would appear normal. Their ships would look primitive. Their weapons would seem basic. They would act like a young species just learning about the galaxy. But underneath, they would be something else entirely. Secret bases were built across the solar system, deep underground on Earth, hidden in the asteroid belt, buried under the ice of Europa. Each base studied different aspects of Architect technology. The most important discovery was the defense network. The Architects had not left Earth unprotected. Hidden throughout the solar system were weapons. Thousands of them. They looked like asteroids. They looked like comets. But they were dormant military installations. Each installation was incredibly powerful. Their weapons used zero-point energy. They could erase matter from existence. They could disrupt causality itself. One installation could destroy an entire fleet, and there were thousands of them. Humanity learned how to activate the network. They learned how to control it. But they kept it sleeping, waiting, watching. The Sol Defense Command was created. It operated in complete secrecy. Its headquarters was on the far side of the moon. Its personnel were the best of the best. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, all sworn to protect Earth's secret. Admiral James Morrison commanded the Sol Defense Command. He was a careful man, a patient man. He knew that one day someone would threaten Earth. The galaxy was a dangerous place. The architects had known this. That was why they built the defenses. For 150 years, humanity watched the galaxy. They sent out scout ships disguised as primitive explorers. They gathered intelligence. They learned about other species. They studied the great empires. They learned about the Jothric Empire. They watched as the empire conquered world after world. They saw the cruelty, the slavery, the destruction, and they prepared. Then one day the sensors detected something, a fleet, a massive fleet. 500 Jothric warships, all heading toward Earth, all preparing to invade. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center. He watched the enemy fleet approach. His officers waited for orders. The moment had finally come. The moment they had prepared for all these years. "Activate Defense Protocol Omega," Morrison said calmly. "Wake up the network. Power up the fleet. It's time to show them what we really are." Throughout the solar system, ancient systems came to life. Asteroids that had floated dormant for millennia began to glow. Hidden bases opened their doors. Warships that looked like primitive human vessels dropped their disguises. Earth had been sleeping. Now Earth was waking up, and the Jothric Empire was about to learn what it meant to threaten the heirs of the architects. The Jothric fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 500 warships appeared in the darkness of space. Their engines glowed with power. Their shields shimmered with energy. Fleet Admiral Kethran stood on his bridge, confident and proud. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Find their military installations. Identify their fleet positions." The sensors swept across the solar system. They found Earth. They found the Moon. They found Mars and Jupiter and Saturn. Everything looked exactly as the scouts had reported. A primitive system. A young civilization. "Admiral, we detect only a few dozen human ships," an officer reported. "They are scattered throughout the system. Their technology appears basic. Fusion reactors, kinetic weapons. Nothing that can threaten us," Kethran smiled. This was going to be even easier than he thought. He activated the communication system. Time to give these humans a chance to surrender. "Attention, humans of Earth," his voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is Fleet Admiral Kethran of the Jothric Empire. Your system now belongs to us. You will surrender immediately. You will submit to Imperial rule. Resistance is futile. You cannot win. Surrender now and we will be merciful." The message echoed through space. Kethran waited for a response. He expected fear. He expected pleading. He expected desperate negotiations. What he got was silence. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a single message came back. It was short, simple, cold. "Leave. This is your only warning." The bridge crew laughed. A warning? From these primitives? It was absurd. It was insulting. It was hilarious. They dare to threaten us? One officer said between laughs. "With what? Their toy ships?" Kethran was not amused. He did not like being mocked. These humans needed to learn respect. They needed to learn fear. "All ships advance," he commanded. "Full speed toward Earth, battle formations. Charge weapons. If they want to resist, we will show them the price of defiance." The fleet moved forward. 500 warships accelerating toward the inner system. They passed the orbit of Neptune. Nothing happened. They continued forward. Still nothing. "Perhaps they realize their mistake," an officer suggested. "Perhaps they are preparing to surrender." Then everything changed. Across the outer solar system, objects that looked like asteroids suddenly came alive. They had been floating in space for millions of years, looking like ordinary rocks. Now they revealed their true nature. Panels opened. Weapons emerged. Power cores that had been dormant for ages ignited. The defense network of the architects activated for the first time in millions of years. "Admiral," energy signatures appearing throughout the system. An officer shouted. His voice was panicked now. "Massive power readings. These are not asteroids. They are weapons platforms." Kethran stared at the tactical display. Hundreds of red dots appeared. Thousands. They surrounded his fleet. They were everywhere. "How did we miss this?" he whispered. "How did our scouts not detect this?" He had no time for answers. The weapons platforms opened fire. Beams of pure energy cut through space. But these were not normal energy weapons. They were zero-point energy beams. They pulled energy directly from the fabric of reality itself. Nothing could stop them. Nothing could absorb them. The Jothric shields were the best in the galaxy. They could withstand the blast of a supernova. They had protected the Empire's ships for thousands of years. They collapsed like paper. The first wave of fire destroyed 50 ships instantly. They simply ceased to exist. No explosions, no debris. One moment they were there. The next moment they were gone. Erased from reality. Then the missiles came. These were not normal missiles. They disrupted causality. They hit ships before they were launched. They existed in multiple timelines at once. There was no dodging them. No defense against them. Another 100 ships died. Their crews did not even have time to scream. Matter erasure fields swept through the fleet. They touched a ship and that ship simply stopped being. Not destroyed. Not blown apart. Simply unmade. Returned to the void from which all matter came. 50 more ships gone. All of this happened in 4.7 seconds. Kethron grabbed his command chair to steady himself. The bridge shook as nearby explosions rocked space. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted. The tactical display was a nightmare of red warnings. 200 ships destroyed. Someone yelled. Shields ineffective. Weapons cannot lock on. They are too fast. Return fire, Kethron ordered. All ships. Fire everything. The remaining 300 ships opened fire. Plasma cannons, particle beams, gravity weapons, everything they had. The combined firepower of 300 warships lit up space like a second sun. The human defense platforms did not even slow down. The Jothric weapons splashed harmlessly against shields that should not exist. Technology that should not be possible. And the platforms kept firing, kept killing. One ship after another vanished from existence. We have to retreat. His second-in-command shouted. Admiral, we cannot win this. We have to run. For the first time in his long military career, Fleet Admiral Kethron felt true fear. He looked at the tactical display. 250 ships remaining. No, 240. 230. The numbers kept dropping. All ships, he commanded. Emergency retreat. Jump to hyperspace, now. The fleet tried to jump. Engines powered up. Hyperspace windows began to open. But nothing happened. The windows collapsed. The jumps failed. We cannot jump, the navigation officer reported. His voice broke with terror. Something is preventing it. They have trapped us here. Kethron realized the horrible truth. This was not a battle. This was an execution. The humans had lured them in. The humans had trapped them. And now the humans were destroying them. He had been so wrong. So terribly wrong. Earth was not primitive. Earth was not weak. Earth was something else. Something ancient. Something powerful beyond imagination. And the killing continued. Fleet Admiral Kethron watched his fleet die. The tactical display showed ships vanishing one by one. Each red dot represented hundreds of lives. Soldiers he had trained. Officers he had promoted. Friends he had fought beside. All gone. Keep trying the hyperspace engines, he ordered desperately. There must be a way out. Negative, Admiral, the chief engineer reported. They have created a gravity well around the entire solar system. It is like being inside a black hole. Hyperspace is impossible. We are trapped. Then new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships, human ships. But these were not the primitive vessels the scouts had seen. These were something else entirely. They appeared from nowhere. One moment space was empty. The next moment ships materialized. Not through hyperspace, through something else. Something the Jothric had no name for. The human warships were beautiful and terrible. Their hulls were made of materials that seemed to shift and flow. Their shapes were impossible, existing in dimensions the Jothric could not fully perceive. They moved through space like thoughts, instantaneous and precise. How many? Kethron asked quietly. Unknown, sir, the sensor officer replied. His voice shook. Our sensors cannot get accurate readings. The ships exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. They are everywhere and nowhere. The human fleet did not rush to attack. They moved with perfect coordination, like a dance, like art. They surrounded the remaining Jothric ships completely. Then they opened fire. But calling it fire seemed wrong. The human weapons did not shoot projectiles or beams. They manipulated time itself. A Jothric ship would suddenly slow down while everything around it moved at normal speed. From the crew's perspective, they experienced days passing in seconds. Their life support failed. Their power ran out. They died of old age in moments. Other ships faced different fates. Quantum computers predicted every move they would make before they made it. Every evasive maneuver, every tactical decision. The human ships were always one step ahead, 10 steps ahead, 1,000 steps ahead. Some Jothric captains tried to fight back. They fired everything they had. The results were pathetic. Their weapons missed targets that did not exist in their timeline. Their missiles hit empty space where human ships had been moments before, or would be moments later. Time had no meaning to humanity's fleet. Ketheron watched as his ships tried every known tactic. Formation changes, desperate charges, coordinated strikes. Nothing worked. The humans countered everything, predicted everything, dominated everything. It was not just that the humans were winning. It was how they were winning. They were playing with the Jothric fleet. Like a cat playing with a mouse. They could have destroyed everything instantly. But they were taking their time, making a point. They are toying with us, his second-in-command said quietly. They want us to know how outmatched we are. Ketheron realized something even more terrifying. The humans had known about the invasion from the beginning. They had let the fleet enter the solar system. They had waited until the Jothric were completely committed, completely trapped. And then they revealed the truth. This was a lesson, a demonstration. The humans were showing the galaxy what happened when you attacked Earth. One of the human ships moved closer to Ketheron's flagship. It stopped just outside weapons range. Not that weapons range mattered anymore. A communication request came through. Ketheron accepted. A hologram appeared. It showed a human in a military uniform. The human looked calm, almost sad. "I am Admiral Morrison of the Sol Defense Command," the human said. "You were warned. You did not listen." Ketheron found his voice. "What are you? How do you have this technology?" "You are supposed to be primitive." Morrison smiled slightly. "We are the heirs of the architects. The first species in this galaxy. Your people evolved long after ours seeded the stars. You thought we were young. We are ancient. You thought we were weak. We have been sleeping, waiting, watching. Why?" Ketheron asked. "Why hide? Why pretend?" "To see what you would become," Morrison replied. "To see if the younger races could grow without our interference. To see if you would choose peace or war, cooperation or conquest." He paused, looking directly at Ketheron. "You chose poorly." The hologram faded. The human ship moved away, and the destruction continued. Ship after ship died. The Jothric fleet was being systematically eliminated. No escape, no mercy, no hope. 30 minutes had passed since the first shot was fired. The great invasion fleet of 500 ships was down to less than 50. Ketheron's flagship shuddered as nearby explosions rocked space. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, someone reported. Life support failing. Engine power at 10%. Ketheron looked around his bridge. His crew was beaten, terrified, defeated. They had entered this system as conquerors. Now they were victims, prey. He thought about his emperor, about the arrogant war council, about the celebrations in the capital. They had all been so confident, so sure of victory. They had no idea what Earth really was. The tactical display showed only 30 ships remaining now. 25, 20. The numbers kept falling. 43 minutes after the battle began, it was almost over. Only a handful of heavily damaged Jothric ships remained. They drifted in space, engines dead, weapons silent. Waiting for the end, the human ships stopped firing. They held their positions, surrounding the survivors. For a moment, there was silence. Then Admiral Morrison's voice came through on an open channel. All surviving ships could hear. "We are allowing one ship to leave," Morrison announced. "One ship to return to your empire, to tell them what happened here, to warn them never to return." Ketheron looked at his tactical display. His flagship was too damaged. It would not make it out of the system, but there was one ship, Commander Seveth's cruiser, badly damaged but still functional. "Commander Seveth," Ketheron said into his communicator, "you are ordered to retreat. Return to the Empire. Tell them everything. Make them understand." There was a pause. Then Seveth's voice filled with grief. "Yes, Admiral. I will tell them. I will make sure they know." The gravity well released its grip on a single area of space. Seveth's ship limped forward. Its engines struggled. Its hull leaked atmosphere, but it moved. It accelerated, and then it jumped into hyperspace. Kethron watched it go, the last survivor of his mighty fleet, the only witness to humanity's true power. Then the human weapons fired one final time. The remaining damaged ships, including Kethron's flagship, vanished. No pain, no suffering, just silence. The Battle of Sol was over. Total time, 43 minutes. Jothric casualties, 500 ships and over 2 million personnel. Human casualties, 0. The galaxy was about to learn a new truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the apex predator, and they had just announced their presence to every species in the galaxy. Commander Sebeth's ship jumped through hyperspace. The journey back to the Empire would take days. Days filled with silence and horror. His crew was in shock. They had witnessed the impossible. The ship's black box had recorded everything. Every moment of the battle. Every weapon the humans used. Every ship that died. The evidence was absolute, complete, undeniable. Sebeth sat alone in his quarters. He watched the recordings again and again, trying to understand, trying to make sense of what had happened, but there was no sense to it. The Jothric Empire was the most powerful force in the galaxy, or so they had believed. Now he knew the truth. They were nothing. Children playing at war while gods watched from the shadows. Meanwhile, back at Earth, Admiral Morrison stood in the command center. The battle was over. The debris field was being collected. The defense network was returning to its dormant state. Everything had gone according to plan. Send the message, Morrison ordered. Across the entire galaxy, every species with radio receivers heard the broadcast. It interrupted their communications. It overrode their systems. No one could ignore it. No one could block it. The message began with video footage. The Battle of Sol played out for all to see. The mighty Jothric fleet arriving. The human defense network activating. The systematic destruction of 500 warships. The entire battle in compressed time. 43 minutes reduced to 10 minutes of footage. Then Admiral Morrison appeared. He stood in front of the camera, wearing his dress uniform. Behind him, Earth floated peacefully in space. "Greetings to all species of the galaxy," Morrison began. His voice was calm, professional. "My name is Admiral James Morrison. I represent humanity. I represent Earth." He paused, letting his words sink in across 1,000 worlds. "For many years you have watched us. You have studied us. You believed us to be a young species, primitive, weak, harmless. You were wrong. Humanity is the heir of the architects, the first intelligent species in this galaxy. Your ancestors learned to walk among the stars because our ancestors taught them. Your civilizations exist because we allowed them to grow. We seeded life across thousands of worlds. We gave you the gift of existence." The message showed images from the Mars Vault. Ancient architect technology. Star maps, genetic records, proof of humanity's true heritage. Morrison continued. "We have been sleeping, watching, waiting to see what you would become. We hoped you would grow wise. We hoped you would choose peace. Some of you have. Many of you have not. The Jothric Empire chose to invade our home. They chose aggression. They chose war. You have seen the result. 500 warships destroyed. 2 million lives ended. In 43 minutes. The hologram zoomed in on Morrison's face. His expression was serious. Final. Let this be a lesson to all species. Earth is not to be threatened. The Sol system is not to be invaded. Humanity is not to be attacked. Any aggression toward our world will be met with immediate and absolute destruction. We gave you one warning. We will not give another." He took a breath. When he spoke again, his tone softened slightly. "But this message is not only a warning. It is also an announcement. Humanity has been dormant long enough. We have watched the galaxy from the shadows for too long. It is time for us to take our place among you, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as guardians. We will no longer hide our true nature. We will begin establishing a presence throughout the galaxy. We will offer protection to peaceful species. We will offer technology to those who prove worthy. We will offer justice to those who have been wronged. And we will bring consequences to those who spread tyranny and suffering across the stars." The message ended with one final image. The Earth, beautiful and blue, hanging in the darkness of space. A world that looked peaceful. A world that looked vulnerable. A world that was anything but. Across the galaxy, reactions varied wildly. On peaceful worlds, people celebrated. Finally, someone would protect them from the aggressive empires. Finally, they had hope. On warlike worlds, military leaders watched in horror. Their plans for conquest suddenly seemed foolish. Their weapons suddenly seemed inadequate. Their empires suddenly seemed fragile. In ancient archives, scholars searched old records, and they found what they were looking for. Warnings, legends, stories passed down for generations. Never wake the sleeping ones near Sol. The first children rest in the third system. When the blue world stirs, the galaxy shall tremble. The warnings had always been there. Hidden in mythology, buried in ancient texts, forgotten by most but real, always real. Commander Sevith finally arrived at the Jothric capital. His damaged ship limped into orbit. He was met by military escorts, brought before Emperor Vorash himself. The throne room was silent. The Emperor sat rigid, his face pale. The entire War Council was present. No one spoke as Sevith walked forward. "Show us," Emperor Vorash said quietly. Sevith activated the holographic display. The battle played out. The council watched in absolute silence. Some gasped. Some turned away. Some wept. When it finished, Emperor Vorash slumped in his throne. He looked old suddenly, tired. "How?" one general whispered. "How did we not know?" "They wanted us not to know," Sevith replied. "They have been hiding their true power for over a century, watching us, testing us, and we failed the test." The Emperor's chief scientist stepped forward. She was very old, very wise. She had studied ancient texts all her life, Your Majesty, she said. "I have found references in our oldest archives. The architects, the first ones, the sleepers of Sol, they are not myth. They are real. And we just attacked their homeworld." Emperor Vorash stood up slowly. He walked to the window. Outside, the capital city glittered with lights. Millions of citizens who did not yet know how close the Empire had come to total destruction. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Immediately. Offer our surrender. Offer our complete submission. Offer anything they want. Everything they want. Just make them understand we will never threaten them again." He turned back to face the council. His voice was firm despite his fear. "Spread the word throughout the Empire. Earth is forbidden. The Sol system is forbidden. Humanity is to be treated with absolute respect. Any ship that even approaches their space without permission will be executed by our own military. Is that understood?" The council nodded. They understood. The Jothric Empire had ruled for 12,000 years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They were the greatest military power anyone knew. And in 43 minutes, humanity had made them bow. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, humanity's message had reached every corner of the galaxy. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Diplomatic requests flooded Earth's communication channels. Trade offers, treaty proposals, pleas for protection, requests for technology. The Jothric Empire's message arrived first. Emperor Vorash himself appeared in the holographic transmission. He knelt. The proud ruler of 12,000 years knelt before Earth. "We offer our complete and unconditional surrender," the Emperor said. His voice shook. "We offer tribute. We offer vassalization. We offer anything you require. We beg only for peace." Admiral Morrison received the transmission personally. He sat in his office deep inside the lunar base. He watched the Emperor grovel. Part of him felt satisfaction. Part of him felt pity. The Jothric had learned their lesson the hard way, but humanity had not revealed their power to become conquerors. They had revealed it to become guardians. "Prepare a response," Morrison told his aide. "Inform the Emperor that we decline his surrender. We decline his vassalization. We do not want his empire. We want his cooperation." The response was sent. The Jothric Empire would remain independent, but they would end their aggressive expansion. They would free their slave worlds. They would join the new galactic order that humanity was creating, or they would face consequences. Emperor Vorash accepted immediately. Within weeks, the Empire began releasing conquered worlds. Slave species were freed. Military forces were reduced. The change was dramatic, complete. Across the galaxy, other aggressive powers watched carefully. They saw what happened to the Jothric. They saw how quickly the mighty had fallen. They made their own calculations, their own decisions. Some chose wisely. They contacted Earth. They proposed peaceful cooperation. They offered to reform their ways. Others chose poorly. The Krell Dominion was one of them. They ruled a small but brutal empire. They believed humanity's power was exaggerated. They believed the Battle of Saul was propaganda. They believed they could continue their raids on peaceful worlds. They were wrong. When Krell raiders attacked a defenseless colony world, a single human warship appeared. Just one. It did not threaten. It did not negotiate. It simply acted. The entire Krell raiding fleet was destroyed in seconds. The human ship then traveled to the Krell homeworld. It appeared in orbit. It broadcast a simple message. This is your only warning. Stop all aggressive actions immediately. Free your slaves. Reform your government. Or face annihilation. The Krell leadership watched as the human ship demonstrated its power. It erased a moon from existence. Just to make the point clear, the moon was there. Then it was not. No explosion, no debris, simply gone. The Krell surrendered within hours. Word spread quickly. Humanity was not bluffing. Humanity had the power they claimed, and humanity was willing to use it. But humanity also showed mercy to those who deserved it. The Vellani people had suffered under Jothric occupation for centuries. They were a peaceful species. Farmers, artists, philosophers. They had never wanted war. But war had come to them anyway. When the Jothric withdrew, the Vellani were free for the first time in generations. They sent a delegation to Earth, not to ask for protection, just to say thank you. Ambassador Talara led the delegation. She was old, her blue skin marked with the scars of occupation. She stood before Admiral Morrison with tears in her eyes. "We thought we would die as slaves," she said. "We thought our children would never know freedom. You gave us hope. You gave us our world back. We can never repay this gift." Morrison smiled gently. "We do not want repayment. We want cooperation. We want peace. We want you to thrive." He paused, thinking carefully about his next words. Humanity watched from the shadows for too long. We saw suffering and did nothing. We saw injustice and remained hidden. That was wrong. We should have acted sooner. We should have protected the innocent long ago. But we are acting now, and we will not stop. Any species that values peace will have our friendship. Any species that values justice will have our support. And any species that values freedom will have our protection. Within a year, the galaxy had transformed. Aggressive empires reformed or faced destruction. Peaceful species flourished under human protection. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries became safe. Pirates vanished. Raiders disappeared. Slavers freed their captives or faced human justice. Human ships appeared at key locations throughout the galaxy. Not to conquer, not to control, to watch, to protect, to maintain order. On Earth, life continued much as it had before. People went to work. Children went to school. Families gathered for dinner. The average human knew about the battle. They knew about humanity's true heritage. But it did not change their daily lives much. What changed was the future. Young people now looked up at the stars with wonder, with pride. They knew their ancestors had built civilizations across the galaxy. They knew they carried that legacy forward. Applications to the military increased dramatically. Everyone wanted to serve. Everyone wanted to protect the galaxy. The Sol Defense Command expanded. New ships were built. New bases were established. But humanity also focused on diplomacy, on education, on cooperation. They established universities where species from across the galaxy could learn together. They created trade networks that benefited everyone. They built a new order based on respect rather than fear. 5 years after the Battle of Saul, Ambassador Talara returned to Earth. She came for the signing of the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. Representatives from 300 species gathered. Former enemies, former slaves, former conquerors, all equal now. All united. Admiral Morrison gave the closing speech. He stood before the assembled delegates, before the cameras that broadcast to 1,000 worlds. 5 years ago, humanity revealed itself to the galaxy. He began. We showed our power. We showed our technology. We showed what we could do. But power is not what defines us. Technology is not what makes us who we are. What defines humanity is our choice. We chose to protect rather than conquer. We chose to help rather than harm. We chose cooperation over domination. We are the heirs of the architects, but we are also more than that. We are students of those who came after them. We learned from your mistakes. We learned from your achievements. We learned that the galaxy is better when we work together. He gestured to the assembled delegates. Species who had been enemies for centuries sat side by side. This is the future we are building. Not a human empire, not a human dominion, a galactic community, where every species has a voice, where every civilization can thrive, where peace is not just a dream but a reality. The delegates rose. They applauded, not because they had to, but because they believed. They believed in this new future, this new hope. That night, Ambassador Talara stood on Earth's surface. It was her first time on the human homeworld. She looked up at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds. And for the first time in her long life, she was not afraid of what lay among them. Because humanity was watching. Humanity was protecting. Humanity had awakened. The galaxy had tried to invade Earth. They had believed humans were weak. They had believed Earth was easy prey. They had been so very wrong. Humanity had been content to sleep, to watch, to wait. But the Jathric Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had woken the sleeping giant. They had provoked the heirs of the architects. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever. The children had awakened, and they were far stronger than their parents had ever been, far wiser than anyone expected, far more merciful than the galaxy deserved. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and Earth stood at the center of it all. Not as masters, but as guardians, as teachers, as friends. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity intended.